I still remember the day I signed the lease on the storefront, how my hands shook as I pressed my palm flat against the crisp paper, inhaling the faint curl of fresh paint and sawdust. It was a tiny corner unit on Hawthorne Avenue, nestled between a vintage record shop and an indie bookstore that smelled perpetually of bergamot and old paperbacks. For years, I had sketched menus on napkins, tested espresso shots in my cramped kitchen, and dreamed in latte art, delicate leaves, tulips, swans. This cafe would be my home, my art studio, my sanctuary. My name, Aria's Haven, was painted in swirling yellow letters on the pane glass door more than a month before opening, and I plastered flyers everywhere: bulletin boards, hair salons, community centers. I'd even roped friends into plastering the town with stickers, a steaming mug encircled by a halo of sunflower petals. My brother Leo had been the first to congratulate me. He'd snuck into the cafe late one night, after I'd slaved over chairs and tables, and caught me sanding the counter by hand. "Need a hand?" he'd asked, grinning like a burglar in my glow-in-the-dark work shirt. His broad shoulders and easy charm had always made him the town favorite: high school prom king, homecoming captain, all-conference soccer star. At 29, he was 6 years older than me, and I thought, the one family member I could count on. I'd wiped sweat from my hair and laughed. "I could use your muscles." He'd rolled up his sleeves and lifted the counter panel with a grunt. "So this is going to be the next big thing?" he asked, eyes bright. "Your own cafe?" I nodded. After this, nothing could stop me. He took a step back, admired the bare brick walls and new fixtures. "I'm proud of you, sis," I beamed. "Thanks, Leo. I wouldn't have made it this far without your help." He shrugged it off. "Hey, I've got time." I'd believed him, and that trust would become the silent tremor threatening to shatter everything. The night before opening, I barely slept. I paced the empty cafe, imagining the hiss of the espresso machine, the clink of cups, the hum of conversations. I arranged mugs on the shelves like soldiers at attention, taste-tested my secret recipe for lavender-infused honey, and finally collapsed at dawn on the vintage love seat I'd found at a thrift store. My dreams were full of success: lines out the door, glowing online reviews, invitations to speak at coffee festivals. I woke to a phone buzzing at 5 a.m., my landlord with a reminder to pick up the new keys at noon. I spent the entire morning in a caffeine haze, finalizing color schemes and adjusting light bulbs. Just as I was closing up for a quick slice of avocado toast, I saw Leo's rusted pickup rumble down the street, skidding to a stop on the cracked asphalt. He jumped down in a flannel shirt, hands stuffed in pockets, and gave me a thumbs up. "Ready?" he called. I rushed out, heart pounding. Ready as I'll ever be. We unlocked the door together. He stood aside as I pushed it open, sunlight streaming in and reflecting off the polished floor. For a second, we both just stared. "It's beautiful," he said, voice hushed. He slapped me on the back, grinning. "Congratulations, Aria." I swallowed a lump of emotion. "Thank you for everything." He waved me off. "I just helped move some tables and fix a leak in the sink. This is all you." I smiled, but under my breath, I thought, not entirely. Opening day was a whirlwind. The lines stretched almost to the corner, people clutching reusable mugs and cameras. I steered through the chaos, steaming milk for lattes, scribbling names on to-go cups, all while greeting every customer who walked in. My heart soared when my best friend, Nadia, gave me a hug and declared, "This is the cutest cafe in the world." By noon, the place was packed. Students with laptops, nestled in the reading nook, local artists swapping sketches at the long communal table, senior citizens quietly savoring pecan pies. I found myself behind the counter for 10 hours straight, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything. That night, after the last customer drifted off, I locked the door and fell into my armchair, exhausted but euphoric. Leo was behind me, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yeah," he was saying. "I think going with Astoria Bank's new program is better. Lower interest rate, flexible terms." "Yeah, definitely." I frowned. "You have your own cafe to run tomorrow," I muttered. He turned, phone still in hand. "One sec," he said, then back to the caller. "Can you email me the details? I'll take a look tonight. Thanks." I folded my arms. "Don't you ever sleep?" He shrugged. "Not until I know this deal's good." He ended the call. "Sorry, work never stops." I opened my mouth, then let it go. He'd always been the family fixer: house repairs, car troubles, bank negotiations. I admired him for it. Still, I wondered how he found time to become my landlord, my website designer, my statistician telling me which pastries sold best. I should have been flattered, but I felt a flicker of unease. So many favors, so many ways I'd come to depend on him. Thanks for today, I said. Instead, I couldn't have done it without you. He gave me that easy grin. You could have. I was off duty. I laughed tiredly, then yawned. I'm heading home. See you in the morning? He nodded. I'll be here by 8. I locked up and walked to my car. Sunshine replaced by street lamps. I didn't notice the way Leo lingered in the doorway, eyes dark in the shadow of the awning. The next week was a blur of growth. Social media buzzed. News outlets ran features. The local mayor made a cameo photo op, cupcakes in hand. My cafe morphed from that new coffee spot into the town's heart. The regulars started to emerge by Wednesday. Mr. Thompson, the retired school principal who ordered black coffee at 7:10 a.m. sharp, 2 college sophomores who fought over the last blueberry muffin, a poet named Maya who scribbled verses between sips of chamomile. During this surge, Leo was my shadow. He'd overhaul my bookkeeping spreadsheets, craft email newsletters, even suggest a new menu item: pumpkin blackout, a dark roast with cinnamon syrup and a splash of cream. He'd prototype it himself at 2 a.m. and text me photos. 3 mugs neatly arranged on a scratched countertop. I tasted it and agreed it was brilliant. I showered him with gratitude, but when I tried to pay him for the extra work, he refused. Consider it my birthday present, he said with a smirk. His birthday was 2 months ago. I laughed it off. Except that every time I looked at those glowing yellow letters on the door, I felt a gentle tug, like the cafe's success was his designing as much as mine. And as winter crept in, bare branches scraping the windows, temperatures plummeting to frostbite territory, I began to feel the weight of responsibility. The cafe was mine on paper, but the engine keeping it running smoothly felt like a communal machine, with Leo as chief mechanic. When Valentine's Day rolled around, I decided to test my own independence. I booked a barista training workshop in Portland, 5 days to learn latte art from a world champion. I begged Leo to host the cafe solo while I was gone. At first he balked. You know things can go sideways. But I'd insisted. I need to grow. You taught me everything. Let me do it. He'd studied me, jaw ticked as if measuring risk. Then finally he shrugged. Okay, but I'll be checking in. 10-minute reports twice a day, and don't expect me to smile for the mayor's photo next week. I'll be out of town for a client. I shook his hand. Deal. When I drove away, leaves swirling in my wake, I felt triumphant, free. I imagined texting him smug updates. Day 150 lattes poured perfectly. And he'd answer with praise. And I'd take a breather, inhale my destiny. But by the end of the first afternoon, my phone was silent. I checked the group chat. No new notifications. I frowned. He'd never missed a message. I texted, "How's the cafe?" Nothing. Need anything? Still nothing. My heart twisted. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. I gaped at my phone. How could a man who built houses, who launched websites at midnight, suddenly drop off the map? I tried not to panic. Maybe he was traveling. But when I got home that night, wiping muffin batter off my hands, keys in the door, my front stoop smelled stale. The door was unlocked. Inside, the cafe lights were off. Chairs rested bullet side up on tables, as if someone expected me. I flicked on the lights. The place looked pristine. Too pristine, like a showroom. The counter was spotless. Not a single sugar granule remained. The pastry case glowed empty. My blood pounded. I rushed behind the counter and opened the till. It was empty. No receipts, no cash trays. My POS system, my invoicing software, my digital heart was gone. I glanced at the wall, my computer, my backup drive, even the bulletin board full of photos. It was all vanished. The outlets hung open, wires dangling like shredded lace. A crushed paper coffee cup lay on the floor, smeared coffee stains leading toward the storage door. I followed it, hand shaking. I threw open the storeroom door. Stacks of boxes were gone, my vanilla syrup, my espresso beans, my lavender honey stash. Even the custom mugs were missing from the shelves. I swallowed hard, heart thumping so loud, I thought I'd pass out. I stumbled back to the door, yanking it open. Outside, the evening was calm, snow beginning to fall, streetlights reflecting in crystal flakes. But inside, my dream had been gutted. I fell to my knees, tears streaming. My phone buzzed, a text from Leo. Hope you're having fun up there. Cafe looks amazing. Loasting, I felt bile rise. Amazing, I whispered, voice shaking. Amazing. I dialed him again. Voicemail. I texted back, panic making me type too fast. What happened? Where is everything? No reply. I called our landlord. He said he'd just stopped by to inspect the pipes. Everything in order. He didn't mention my brother. I walked the cafe floor, touching the bare glass case as if it could whisper the truth. My vision blurred as I sank to the floor. My dream, 20 years of planning, every shred of savings, was gone in a single day. My brother, the one person I trusted to carry the torch, had handed me a loaded gun and vanished. I refused to accept defeat. That night, I drove back to my parents' house, 20 miles through snow-slicked roads. My mother answered, her face lighting up until she saw me, mascara smeared. "Aria," she gasped, pulling me inside. "What's wrong?" I clutched her kitchen counter. "Somebody, Leo, he took everything. The cafe. My money." My father's brow furrowed. "Your brother?" he said, voice tight. "What do you mean?" I told them the story. Solo trip, empty cafe, smug text. They exchanged glances I didn't like. My mother's eyes filled. "Leo never mentioned this," she whispered. My father rubbed his temples. "We'll help you sort this out." I nodded numbly. He was my rock. My mother wrapped me in a hug. "We'll figure it out, sweetheart." That night I hardly slept. I drafted emails to every vendor, every lender, every employee who'd paid, who'd worked. I tried to piece together Leo's paper trail. Empty accounts, forged signatures, leased equipment transferred into his name. He'd pulled a legal vanishing act, leaving me no recourse. But I had one hope, the community that had rallied around Aria's haven, the customers who'd lined up for lavender lattes and pecan pies. If they believed in me, maybe I could rebuild. Maybe my brother hadn't ruined everything. I spent the next morning at my parents' kitchen table, coffee from my home machine tasting like ashes, writing a letter to the town. "Dear neighbors, I'm Aria Thompson, founder of Aria's Haven. This cafe has been my dream, and it has also been our community hub. Recently, circumstances beyond my control have forced the closure of my beloved cafe. I love Hawthorne Avenue, and I'm committed to bringing Aria's Haven back, better than ever, stronger and more welcoming. If you believe in this dream, I invite you to join me in a community fundraiser at the community center this Saturday. We'll have live music, bake sales, and an opportunity to help restore the place where we shared stories, laughter, and coffee. Thank you for your support. Together, we'll make this right." With gratitude, Aria Thompson, I printed copies and posted them everywhere. Leo and I had once plastered stickers. I sent the digital version to every email subscriber I had left. I called my few faithful baristas. One agreed to volunteer her time. Another offered to bake cakes at cost. Friends rallied online, reposting pleas, sharing memories. That afternoon, I stood before the now empty storefront, snow swirling, and pressed my palm against the glass. "I'm coming back," I whispered. "I promise." As my breath fogged the window, I felt something shift, a spark of hope, the memory of that first opening day, the echo of laughter and warm lights. My brother might have stolen my dream, but he couldn't swallow my passion, and now, standing alone but determined, I realized this was only the beginning of my fight. The community fundraiser was in 4 days, and I had no money, no location, just a promise and a conviction that people would stand with me. As I walked home through the falling snow, I mapped out the tasks: find a venue, drape it in fairy lights, recruit musicians, bake pastries, spread the word. I knew it was audacious. I knew the odds were stacked against me. But I also knew something deeper. The cafe was never just about the coffee. It was about connection, warmth, and the courage to share your story. And now, more than ever, I needed to share mine. That night, as I lay in bed, the wind rattling the window pane, I imagined the turnout, neighbors greeting me with hugs, children dancing to live guitar, the smell of cinnamon and fresh bread filling a makeshift hall. I pictured the moment when I'd step onto a small stage, voice shaking but steady, and say, "Thank you all for believing in me, in our little cafe, and in the power of community." My heart fluttered with purpose. This battle belonged to me now, no longer my brother's shadow, but my own spotlight. And when Saturday came, I would light a flame that even his betrayal couldn't extinguish. Part 1 ends here, with a dream shattered but not broken, and a woman determined to rebuild from the ruins, armed with faith, solidarity, and the unwavering belief that the best stories rise from the ashes. The morning of the fundraiser dawned crisp and clear, the frozen pavement crackling under my boots as I approached the community center, a modest brick building festooned with fall decorations, its broad windows reflecting sunlight like watchful eyes. I inhaled, chest tight with anticipation. Today was make or break for Aria's Haven. Inside, a handful of volunteers was already setting up, long folding tables draped in white linens, strings of fairy lights snaking between door frames, and banners I'd hand-lettered, "Rise Again, Aria's Haven fundraiser." The air hummed with purpose, punctuated by the rich aroma of cinnamon buns and freshly brewed coffee from a borrowed urn. I spotted Maya, the local poet from the cafe's open mic nights, arranging her stack of chapbooks on a display. "Morning, Maya," I called. She looked up, radiant in a burgundy scarf. "Aria, look at this turnout. People are already curious." I sold 10 copies of my latest collection before breakfast. I pressed a grateful smile. "Thank you, your words kept so many of us going." She winked. "And your honey lattes inspired them, remember?" She swept a hand at the banner. "This looks amazing." I nodded, relief washing through me. I checked my phone, 20 volunteers, 3 bands, half the bake sale table accounted for, and donations from every corner, local farms, bookstores, even the mayor's office. I never imagined this. Maya looped an arm through mine. "That's because it's not just your dream, it's ours." Across the hall, I saw 2 college students, giggling behind a stack of chocolate brownies stamped with the cafe's sunflower logo. Mr. Thompson, the retired principal, was directing them like a drill sergeant. 2 more tables held donated pies, cookies, and jars of homemade jam, all pledged in the last 48 hours. My phone buzzed with a text from Nadia. "On my way with the latte art display. See you there." I tapped thumbs up and exhaled. The momentum was real. Then a hush fell over the room as the first attendees trickled in, a line of familiar faces, families who'd curled on my reading nook couch, writers who'd scribbled drafts over cappuccinos, coffee aficionados who'd argued latte versus flat white. They carried folding chairs, baskets of goods to donate, and pockets jingling with spare change. I hurried to the front, heart pounding. "Hey everyone," I raised my voice. "Thank you so much for coming. Aria's Haven means more to me than I can say, and your support today is going to help me rebuild. So please enjoy the music, the treats, and let's show Hawthorne Avenue what community really looks like." Applause rolled across the room, and I spotted tears in more than one eye. My chest tight with gratitude, I gave a little bow and stepped back. Moments later, the first band, 3 high school friends with acoustic guitars, took the makeshift stage. Their sweet harmonies drifted across the tables, lulling the crowd into a warm buzz. I wandered amongst them, collecting donations and hugs alike, until Mr. Thompson tipped me off to a distinguished-looking couple at the back. They wore smart coats and carried a leather briefcase. The woman clutched a small envelope. "Miss Thompson?" the man asked, voice polite. "We're from the Hawthorne Foundation. We've been following your story. We'd like to match whatever you raise today, up to $10,000. My heart lurched. "What? Really?" I glanced around, stunned. He nodded. "We believe in preserving local culture and entrepreneurship. Your cafe did that beautifully." He handed me the envelope. "Use this to reboot Aria's Haven." I blinked and accepted it, voice thick. "Thank you. This means everything." The couple melted back into the crowd, their generosity igniting a fresh wave of applause and donations. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I forced a smile. The plan was working. 3 hours later, the community center had overflowed, every chair filled, guests mingling around tables, hands dipped in cookie jars, heads bobbing to Band 2's jazz trio. I'd counted over $15,000 in pledges and cash, plus the foundation match. I felt dizzy with relief and joy. I stepped back onto the tiny stage as the MC called for attention. "Aria Thompson, founder of Aria's Haven." He handed me a cordless mic. I cleared my throat, scanning faces illuminated by string lights. "I don't even know where to begin," I said, voice wavering. "I came here feeling like I'd lost everything. But today, you've given me a lifeline. You've reminded me why I fell in love with coffee, with conversation, and with this street." I saw nods and smiles. Because it's not about the building or the equipment, it's about you, each and every one of you, who made this place our place. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. I promise that Aria's Haven will reopen, stronger, and better than ever. We'll have our menus, our signature drinks, and our open mic nights. But beyond that, we'll have a space for connection, creativity, and community. The room hushed. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. The applause that followed felt like a wave lifting me. I stepped down, pressing the mic to my chest, overwhelmed. As the fundraiser wound down, leftover baked goods bagged for volunteers, bands packing up their gear, I breathed in the warm glow of possibility. I'd spent weeks scrambling, and today had granted a miracle. The next step, find a new storefront, draft a business plan, secure equipment. But for tonight, I allowed myself a moment of celebration. Just as I was handing a large check to the community center manager, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I glanced down, ready to ignore it, but something stopped me. It read, "Need to talk." Please. Leo, my breath caught. I'd blocked him, every social account, every phone line, every text. The sting of betrayal, still raw. Yet here was his number, urging me to speak. My pulse hammered. Part of me wanted to delete it on the spot. Part of me, my little sister heart, longed to know why. I slipped away from the manager, ducked into a quiet hallway, and dialed the number. It rang once, twice, and then a shaky voice answered. "Arya," I froze. It was him. "Leo," I said. "Careful. Why are you calling me?" His voice cracked. I'm sorry, I saw what you did today. I saw the community, and I realized I fucked up." I exhaled. "You think?" There was a long silence. Finally, he said, "I made everything your brother built disappear. And He swallowed hard, voice trembling. I panicked. When the cafe was starting to boom, I got scared. People looked at me like I was the genius behind it all. People I respect. And I thought, if it's his, not mine, I'm safe. So I took it for myself. My stomach flipped. I pressed against the wall, managing to keep my voice calm. And then you screwed everything, pocketed the money, and vanished. His breath cracked. I never meant to hurt you like that. I got an offer, some backer with deep pockets, said he'd make me a chain. I thought I could build my own cafe empire. I thought I could top you. I thought I had to outdo you. Or everyone would think I was less than. I closed my eyes, feeling anger climb, but also sympathy. So you stole my dream to build your own, and you almost succeeded. He swallowed audibly. I see now that I was wrong. You, and this community, deserve so much better. And I've spent every day since feeling like a coward. You pulled off something incredible today. I ran a hand over my face. Why now? Why call me now? I hit rock bottom, he admitted. The backer bailed when they saw the backlash. All I have is an empty shell and debt. I lost friends, credibility, you, and I realized I need you. I need your help. I stared at the cell phone, the echo of laughter and music still ringing down the hall. My chest felt tight, torn between rage and love for the brother who had always been my closest ally. I began, then stopped. I closed my eyes. I pictured Leo lifting that counter panel with me, the early mornings I'd spent sanding floors together, his proud grin on opening day, his birthday present of free marketing advice. I also felt the ache of betrayal, my empty cafe, my stolen livelihood, nights on a thrifted sofa with nothing but determination to hold me up. I inhaled, voice steady. You hurt me, Leo. You took everything I built, and then you vanished. He exhaled, voice soft. I know, I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I'll give back every cent. I'll work for free. I'll fade to the background. Just let me help. I stood in the quiet hallway, the fading notes of the jazz trio drifting through the walls. The fundraiser had proven that community cared about Arya's haven. But did I care enough to forgive my brother? Could I share this new dream with him, after all he'd done? My phone slipped to my side. I took a deep breath. You're late, I said quietly. But I guess you did show up. Finally, his relief was palpable. Thank you. I exhaled, voice gentle but firm. There's work to be done. We start tomorrow at first light, finding a space, organizing inventory, mapping budgets. You'll earn everything back you stole and more. If you can keep up. He inhaled sharply. Yes, I will. I promise. I nodded. Good. Then I'll see you at 8. We rebuild together. I hung up and slipped out of the hallway. Back in the main room, the last guests were drifting away, volunteers dismantling tables, I smiled at Maya, who gave me a thumbs up. The community center manager approached with a clipboard. Great job, Arya. We'll transfer the funds by tomorrow. I sighed, relief and anticipation mingling. Thank you. As I locked up for the night, I realized that Arya's haven would rise again, not just because of me, but because of everyone who believed, and even because of my flawed brother who had learned the hard way that dreams aren't trophies to steal, they're legacies to share. Tomorrow, Leo and I would walk into a new storefront arm in arm, ready to rebuild. And this time, I'd make sure that every brick, every menu item, every steaming cup of coffee carried the story of triumph over betrayal, and the power of forgiveness that could transform any wound into a foundation for something stronger than before.